What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scare Soldier back with another Borderlands 3 video, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the best Zane build in the game. So get ready because we're going to do a full breakdown. So starting off, we're going to be in the gear section, guys, and we're going to be talking about all the weapons that I actually suggest for you guys to use. Now keep in mind, this is suggestions. There's a ton of weapons in the game that are great, but these are some of my favorite. So first things first, you're going to want a mobbing weapon, and that's going to be the redistributor. One of the best weapons in the game. We're going to be showing some clips as we go for what some of the features of this build do. So we got the redistributor in our hands, and you guys see why it's such a good weapon, because all you have to do is shoot one enemy, and then all the nearby enemies will take some damage from those chaining shots, which is quite good and making this a super good mobbing tool. So the redistributor is a fantastic weapon that is great for mobbing, especially with the interaction it has with your barrier, chaining enemies, making it extremely easy to kill multiple enemies at once. So this is one of our main weapons for the build. Now the light show is also another great weapon. Now unlike the redistributor, the light show is amazing for dealing damage to single target enemies, and the light show is also amazing on the clone. So what you guys are watching over here is the clone going to possess the light show in his hands, and we're going to let him take on the Kraken all by himself, and you guys are going to notice the amount of damage he does. It's absolutely insane. So we're going to let him get all those kills by himself. We literally do not have to do anything. So the combination of you as Zane plus the clone on the battlefield is absolutely ridiculous. So that is exactly why you want the light show. Now, the redistributor is not very good on the clone, and neither is it good versus single target enemies, so that is where the light show shines. Next on the list, we love the convergence. The convergence is awesome. This gun literally can freeze enemies within 1 to 2 shots max. So you're going to be seeing how good it is with the clone, as it doesn't take many shots to do some damage with it. So that's also a good thing about the gun. And of course, the clone can freeze enemies alongside you, of course. Now this thing takes roughly 1 to 2 shots max to freeze an enemy. So you guys are seeing right here that we're just aiming for the critical spot, and the enemy is pretty much insta frozen, and at that point your icebreaker will be in effect, and you're going to be getting that bonus damage. So the convergence is a good weapon. Also, the Starved Beast is another great weapon alongside the Convergence, because this weapon is good as well on the clone, and it's a high DPS weapon with the fire rate being so high, reload time, accuracy, damage, mag size. This gun is superb, and I love to use it as well. Another couple of options if you guys want, things like the Smog are also kind of good. You can also use things like the Anarchy is great on you, and the clone is really good, and also the Backburners, Plague Bearers, those type of weapons, Monarchs, those are all great weapons to use. There's a ton more, but again, if I was to name every single good gun, you guys would fall asleep. So next, we have the shield, and we'll talk about all the anointments in a second, but we're just going to run through the gear. So first of all, for the shield, you're going to want the Old God. Why do you want the Old God? Well, simply is because we're running Sentinel Cryo as our main anointment for the build, and because we're always doing cryo damage, having that cryo bonus damage from our shield is amazing to give us even more damage. Plus, we're getting elemental damage resistance, and we get some movement speed. Now, if you guys can, I would highly suggest you get actually this Old God right over here with the double Vagabond, because you're going to be getting 24% movement speed while shields are full. And also with the addition to your anointment, this total shield will give you 40% movement speed, and on Zane that's extremely effective, because the faster Zane moves, the more damage he does. So very, very awesome. Next, for the grenade, we're going to be just simply using the Hex. The Hex is great not only to dot enemies, but also to freeze them. That's why we have the cryo one, and freezing is going to be very important for this build, because that's when we're going to get the most damage overall. And of course, the recurrent Hex is just amazing. You can also use the radiation version if you want to create even more dots, but honestly I like the cryo one a little better. Next, for the actual artifact, we have 2 artifacts to use. We're going to be using Icebreaker Victory Rush and also the Snowdrift Victory Rush. Now the reason why we want to use the Snowdrift is because the Snowdrift is extremely powerful when you're doing bosses. So if you have a big target like Wotan, we're going to show you clips as we go, of course, But again, if you slide shoot with a snowdrift, again, because you're going to be sliding faster, you're going to be getting even more damage. And that's why I love to pair this with things like backburners and all that stuff to make you one-shot bosses extremely effectively with Zane. Now for our mobbing tool, we're going to be using Icebreaker most of the time, because Icebreaker is going to help us freeze enemies even more efficiently, since it adds cryo efficiency on the artifact. Plus you're going to be getting bonus damage against frozen enemies. So that's why we want to freeze enemies as fast as possible, so we can get that bonus damage. Now, why Victory Rush? Because again, you want bonus damage and also bonus movement speed, and that bonus lasts for 60 seconds, which is great. And also that 18% movement speed is going to be fantastic, because the movement speed plus that extra 18% damage is actually going to give you even more than just 18% damage overall, because movement speed translates to more damage. So we want that on both our artifacts. Now for the rolls specifically, I would highly suggest at least these two rolls for the Icebreaker. So have cryo damage and movement speed, and then the other one, whatever gun you guys like to use more, if it's SMGs, heavy weapons, whatever, then that should be your first roll. Like you guys see, I use SMGs a lot, so I have SMG damage. And then for your snowdrift, you want area of effect, movement speed, mag size, or heavy weapon damage is also very good, because mostly on snowdrifts you're not going to be mobbing with it. It's not convenient to slide mobs, so you want to slide shoot bosses, so area of effect with the rocket launcher is going to be perfect. Now going to the anointment real quick, we're rocking with Sentinel Cryo. Sentinel Cryo is the best anointment in the game for Zane, because overall it's the easiest one to use. The Sentinel stays active for a long time and never really goes down and cannot be damaged or taken down, so it's easy. And cryo is very effective versus armor and health bars. And then when you pair that with a radiation element on your weapon, you're literally unstoppable, because the radiation complements the cryo in giving you the ability to do damage against shields as well. So not only can you do damage against shields and health bars, you also get that cryo damage taking out armor. And plus also the Sentinel Cryo helps you freeze enemies even faster as well, because again, you're getting cryo damage on all your weapons, so that cryo is going to be very effective. Now for the anointment on your shields, you're going to want to look for Sentinel, as active movement speed is increased by 15%, because as I mentioned, the faster you move with Zane, the more damage you do. Simple as that. And then on the actual grenade, since you as Zane are not going to be throwing the grenade yourself, I highly recommend on grenade thrown. And also that's pretty much on grenade thrown is going to be for mobbing, because this is going to increase the damage of your clone, also your drone. Your grenade's going to do more damage, and also you are going to get more weapon damage. And then of course with the with some action skill and anointments as well, because you can proc doppelbanger with your clone to proc action skill end, and action skill ends of course are going to give you even more elemental damage, which overall is going to give you even more damage against bosses. But for mobbing, stick to on grenade thrown. And that's pretty much it for that, guys. We're going to go ahead and talk about the skill tree now, because the skill tree is the most important part. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So first things first, we have the double agent tree, and the double agent tree is going to be a really good tree for us. So with synchronicity, we're going to be getting gun damage per action skill. We have 2 action skills, so we're going to get 40% gun damage right here. Donnybrook, I'm going to show you guys clips. Of course, Donnybrook is crazy. You're going to get a ton of health regeneration. Look at this health regeneration, guys. We have Donnybrook +5, and look at this. We're going to call both our action skills up, and look how insane that health regen is. And of course, gun damage for both you and the clone, which is great. Then Prometheus. Prometheus is going to give us some more gun magazine size, which is great for more damage per second. And then also all you need is 3 points into borrowed time, because between you, the clone, the sentinel, all dealing damage with the recurrent hexes going off, it's so easy to keep your action skills active. Next, we are going to be looking at Old You. Now, I'm going to be talking about the class mod in a second, because I just wanted to show you the skill tree, but the Old You is going to be good for a quality of life, because in case you go down, again, this is an easy get up. And also, once you kill off your clone has a short cooldown, so again, you're going to get up really quickly, and then your clone will be ready and available in like 5 seconds, so it's easy to use this. Supersonic Man, 3 out of 3, because again, this is just simple. We're getting 12% movement speed per action skill, so 24% movement speed from Supersonic Man, which I believe translates to 48% gun damage, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. But yeah, movement speed again is very key for more gun damage. Then we have Trick of Light, which is very debatable for a lot of people, but me, this is just one of the best perks to use, because you're getting 36% of damage dealt. So I'm going to show you another clip, of course, guys. But that 36% damage dealt as cryo is huge, because if you do, let's say, 1 million damage, then you're going to be getting an additional secondary damage of 360,000 cryo damage as well. So this all applies to frozen enemies because frozen enemies do not have a target, and also it's going to apply when enemies are distracted by your clone, which if you have not noticed at the Guardian Takedown or anywhere in Borderlands, all the enemies in the game are quite intrigued by the clone and they completely forget Zane. So Trick of Light is quite active very often, and then you're freezing a ton of things all the time, so you're going to be getting this bonus a lot. So I want to reassure you guys that Trick of Light works. So we have Trick of Light here being that we're going to get 36% of damage dealt as cryo. So we're going to be using a non-cryo weapon, and also we're not going to be adding any elements to that. So the Trick of Light is going to be awesome. So we're going to be using this on the Hellwalker. You guys can see that we are not using a Sentinel Cryo Anointment. We're literally not going to be getting any bonus elements other than fire. So we're going to go ahead and try this weapon out. We're also going to be putting the redistributor on our clone so we cannot kill people, because if we put the Hellwalker on our clone, he will absolutely destroy people. So we're going to go ahead and get some enemies for you guys. So what we're trying to do here is we're calling the clone out, and right away you're going to see that the enemies are quite distracted by him right away. So they're barely even paying attention to us much. Now they're paying attention to us. See, but you see how that works? Like, most of the enemies do not care about you. They're all fighting against the clone, which is really good, again, for survivability. So we're going to take our first shot, and right here you guys are going to notice that we have 1 fire damage, and the secondary damage is cryo. That cryo comes from the Trick of Light. So you guys can see that there's 883,000 damage from our Hellwalker, and we have 433,000 damage that is from the Trick of Light. So that is a ton of bonus damage, guys, and that's why the Trick of Light is amazing. So we're going to take another shot just to show you one more time. Boom, right there. So we got about, I think it's 1 million damage. Let me get in there real quick. So yeah, we got 1 million damage. You see that radiation, by the way, is coming from my clone doing damage with my redistributor. And that cryo damage, 423,000, is coming from the Trick of Light. So you guys know that the Trick of Light is absolutely amazing. And now we're going to show you the bonus cryo damage on a frozen enemy. Keep in mind, we only have fire. So we just shot at the frozen enemy with only fire element. And look, we got, if we can get in there real quick, 5 million fire damage. And if you guys can see, we got 1 million cryo damage. Where's that cryo damage coming from? Is from the Trick of Light. So all that radiation, again, is from the clone shooting our radiation redistributor. So we got 1 million cryo damage on top of 5 million. So that's how good the Trick of Light is, guys. Then we have Boom Enhance. Boom Enhance is going to enhance your clone, and he's going to consume 3 grenades, and that's why we want pocket full of grenades, to make sure that we always have the maximum available grenades for our clone to consume every time we call him in and out. So right over here, guys, we are starting off with 13 out of 13 grenades, and because of Boom Enhance, we want to consume all 3 grenades, of course, so we're at max capacity, so that's what should happen. And also for calling out our clone, we're going to be already automatically getting pocket full of grenades to work, so we're already regenning grenades as we speak. So all of that is going to be helpful, because if we consume all 3 grenades, our clone's going to be getting that massive buff from gun damage, max health, fire rate, reload speed perspective. So again, we're going to be checking back at how many grenades we have now, because I want to show you how insane this grenade regen is. So with this pocket full of grenades, it's going to give us already an extra grenade, and we're almost already back to 13. So that's why 1 point in pocket full of grenades is literally all you need. And watch right here, guys, we're going to be right back at 13 out of 13 grenades. So it's pretty insane how 1 point goes a long way. So right over here, guys, the proof is right there. Look at the bottom, 13 out of 13 in only a couple of seconds. Pretty insane. 1 point goes a long way. And then, of course, we're also going to have double barrel, and double barrel is going to give us a copy of Zane's currently equipped weapon, so you guys see what that looks like. With double barrel, you're going to be allowing your clone to have the currently equipped weapon of Zane. So this is how you get your gun in your clone's hands, is with double barrel. So make sure you pick that up. Now for the augments, we're going to be sticking with this one here. I'm not even going to bother to pronounce it, but this one helps us restore our shields to full, and this is going to help us as well in regards to our shield. So like the old god, we need to have our shield full if we were to use this one here, because having our shield full gives us 24% movement speed, and we want it to be full, so this one helps us get that back. And then as another augment, we have Doppelbanger, and this is going to help you guys proc action skill and anointments if you do choose to use that for bossing. And also, this is very good because sometimes you travel so far, and when you teleport yourself all the way back, it's gonna annoy you. So to kill off your clone, bring him, and then call him in to the next spot is going to be key. So these two are my favorites. Now, for the class mod, of course, it's no secret we're going to be using the Seen Dead. Now, the Seen Dead is the best class mod in the game currently, even with the brand new Hustler one. This is still the most convenient and best one to use. So what you want as roles is going to be specific roles. So because we love to use redistributors and smogs mostly, I like to use Hyperion weapon critical hit damage and also SMG damage. And weapon critical damage is also good because those are all multiplicative additions to the actual damage formula. So this is going to give you the most damage possible. Then also the top rolls are going to be important as well. My favorite top rolls are going to be Violent Violence. So try to get as much points into Violent Violence as possible, because Violent Violence is going to give you more fire rate, and more fire rate means you're going to be killing people faster. And then a bit of points in Donnybrook. I mean, I also have like a 5 out of 5 into Donnybrook as well, that I do like to use from time to time. But again, I love Violent Violence so much. And this is going to tie me into another point in a second. So we're going to go to the next skill tree, and this is going to be the green one. So quickly with the green one here, it's pretty simple. The green tree offers Ready for Action, which is going to help us with our shield recharge rate, which is good for the old god. Brain Freeze is going to help us use any weapon. It doesn't even have to be cryo to freeze enemies even faster and more efficiently, so that we get the bonus of the Icebreaker faster. So the bonus damage, because we want to deal as much damage as possible to enemies, so freezing them is going to help us get 42% extra gun damage with the Icebreaker. And then of course Confident Competence is also good because we're going to get gun damage up to 35%. And again, this one is also dependent on having our shield full, so having things like Ready for Action as well as this perk over here is going to help keep our shields full. Especially having the all-rounder to protect us as well is going to be key. Also, just a little note guys, the adrenaline is not really worth it. If you guys were wondering, all these perks that you see me not, except for Hardy Stock is good if you do spec into a 5150 build, but again, adrenaline is not really that useful. This is dependent on how full your shield is. And if you guys have not understood this perk yet, Topped Off right over here, Topped Off, essentially when your shields are full, you're getting 200% action scale cooldown rate, which is insane. So literally all adrenaline does will give you if you invest 5 points into here, will give you 230% instead of just 200. And all that 30% will really do is only knock off 1 extra second. So are you going to invest 5 points to save 1 second off your action skill, which already takes like 4 to 5 seconds to come back, being the clone, and the Sentinel lasts forever? Not really worth it for 5 points. That's a lot of points. And then Stiff Upper Lip and Rise to the Occasion are hardly noticeable, especially with Donnybrook. You guys saw the video. Donnybrook makes it extremely crazy how much health regen you have. Now, we also are able to get all the best augments in the green tree, so you guys can always substitute in Barrier. You can put your all-rounder on, and that's great because that's the most protection Zane has in the game. And of course, you can always play around with any of the augments you like. We have all of them activated, so that's why this build is great. Now, I wanted to touch on Fractal Frags real quick because some people may be confused why I didn't bring it. Now, Fractal Frags is very good, especially with the Seen Dead. Your clone will throw a ton of grenades, but that's not good. We want our clone to be shooting because the clone does so much damage in the game that we do not want him to be focusing on throwing grenades. We want him to actually be shooting the enemies. That's more important than a recurring hex, which barely does any damage to enemies, because the clone can also freeze enemies for you. So we want him to be shooting at all times rather than just chucking grenades that deal no damage. All right, so last tree over here, guys, we have the Hitman tree, and this one's where you're going to get all your damage per second stats. So we have things like Violent Momentum and Violent Speed. So Violent Momentum right here, Violent Speed. So those are going to be great because you're going to get more movement speed and also more damage the faster you move with Violent Momentum. All you need is 1 point of Salvation. This is great for Mayhem 10 because you're doing already millions and hundreds of thousands of damage. You're literally getting 3% of a million damage, and most of our base health is around 20,000. So literally you're going to be getting more than enough health with 1 to 2 shots of your weapon. So here's the reason why we only put 1 point into Salvation. Your clone and your drone are going to be providing health steal as well. So look how fast we got our health back, guys. If you missed it, we're going to put the front loader shield right back on and then switch it back. This is just to reduce our health. And look how fast we get our health back with health steal of 1 point instantly. Then 3 points into Cool Hand. This is going to give you extra reload time. Keep in mind, guys, most of these are kill skills, so they're all going to be buffed by the Seen Dead. And Cool Hand with 3 points out of 5, you're going to actually notice a difference in your reload speed, and that's why we put 3 out of 5. Then we put 1 point at drone delivery. This is going to allow our drone to drop a recurring hex for us to help us freeze enemies. And also we have death follows close, because this is going to boost our kill skills even further and also increase the duration. So this is one of my favorite skills in this tree as well. Of course, Violent Momentum is also one of my favorites, but Violent Balance is awesome because it gives you a ton of fire rate, which literally makes a huge difference in your time to kill. And look how many points we have into that. That's also because of our class mod, but we have 5 out of 5 here, guys, plus 3 from our class mod. And this is going to give us 36% extra fire rate times 2. So we're getting 72% extra fire rate on all our weapons. So we're going to be killing things extremely fast. Next, we'll get back to playing dirty because I will have to speak something about that. But we have 1 into Good Misfortune because there's diminishing returns. And the way this one works is that as long as you're dealing damage to enemies, it's going to reset those. It's going to help give you back time to your action skills. So as long as you deal damage either from your clone, your drone, and Zane, and also your grenades, this is going to help keep your action skills up as long as you're dealing damage to enemies. Then Seeing Red, this is just a quality of life. As soon as you get into a boss battle, or with any Zane character, the first thing you do is always call in your action skills. And right when you call in your action skills, you're super fast. All your kill skills are ready and available, so you can do the maximum damage right away instead of taking 5 to 6 seconds, shooting an enemy, reloading, then finally having all your kill skills and repeating. So playing dirty is a great perk, but you guys have to know how to use it. So playing dirty is awesome, but it's not awesome on all weapons. So if you have like weapons that are multi-pellets, playing dirty is not going to be advantageous to you. So it's situational. So if you have a single pellet if you have a single projectile weapon, so I'm going to show you one right now. So we have the back burner, for example. So the back burner is a single projectile weapon, and with playing dirty, it's going to add a second missile at the same time, so double the damage. So that perk literally doubles the damage. But on something like the Anarchy, where it's times 20, it will not turn into times 40. It will not work that way. So that's why we put 3 points into it, because it's situational depending on the weapon we use. So with that, we're going to have also, you want to have a class mod that also provides points into playing dirty, so that you can get either 5 out of 5 is going to be perfect, or if you want to go even further, 6 out of 5. But 5 out of 5 is more than enough into playing dirty, and that's going to give you a super high chance of literally getting an extra projectile with your next 5 shots on your rocket launchers and things like that. So that's why we have 3 points, so that if we want to pull out playing dirty, we just get a class mod that gives us those extra points to ensure our chance of having those extra projectiles, and then we are out. Now that's pretty much it for the skill tree, guys. We have the Sentinel, of course, equipped, but we can go through any action skill we want. So we can use Sentinel as our main one, because that's our main anointment, but we can use either the clone or the barrier situationally. So if there's more mobs and we want to do redistributor, we can, but if we want the clone to do some damage for us, then we have the clone. We have all options available with this build, which is great. And as the augments for a Sentinel, I would like to use Winter's Drone, because this is going to help you freeze enemies as well with your drone, and also Bad Dose, because the Sentinel is going to go around and he's going to buff Zane by weakening enemies, giving you even more movement speed, more fire rate, and this is really nice as well. So these are my favorite. Instead of Winter's Drone, you can also use Static Field to keep your shields a little more full, but honestly, I like Winter's Drone and Bad Dose the most. So that's the skill tree, guys. I'll show you the modifiers as well. So our modifiers for the build is Speed Demon. Speed Demon is going to make you move 150% faster. So again, you guys know the theme of Zane, the faster he moves, the more damage he does. So that's what that perk literally does for us. It's insane. Freeze Tag is super good because it doesn't really bother you too much, and it can freeze enemies as well, so it's kind of good. And Drone Ranger is super easy to deal with. It literally is almost like you don't even notice it being active. And Roguelite is great because Zane never dies with his barrier, with his health regeneration, with his lifesteal. Literally, you're so well protected, plus your clone, plus your drone dealing damage. You're literally invincible with Zane, so Roguelite is a good modifier. And also, you can bypass Roguelite as well with the help of Old U. So if you guys have Old U on and you go into fight for your life, which Roguelite takes away, you can literally use Old U as long as you spam it. So as soon as you go down, spam either the left trigger or the right trigger, and you will literally get yourself back up and avoid Roguelite. So literally, we broke Roguelite with Zane. So once it's all put together, this is how insane you should be looking. Now we're also going to be showing you the artifact of the snowdrift because we are at a boss, so I want to show you the performance of it. But overall, just look at you being Zane, moving crazy fast with all the things I taught you guys. Now you have your clone dealing damage, you as Zane are dealing damage, you have your speed demon from your mayhem modifiers giving you way more extra damage because Zane is of course a damage based speed demon, and the more speed you have, the more damage you're going to be getting. So just look at the performance of the damage just with the light show alone, which normally is really good anyways. But we're also going to be showing you that one shot that you guys saw earlier with the back burner. Now on our back burner we have action skill and action skill and 200% extra splash damage. So that is where the augment doppelbanger is going to come into play, because we can actually activate that right away by literally killing off our clone. That's going to proc the action skill and we're just going to slide shoot at Wotan right over here, and it's going to absolutely destroy him. So look at, basically it has half health right there, and look at that snowdrift go to work. Look at the amount of damage. That's why I highly emphasize you guys get yourself a snowdrift with Zane, because that's going to amplify your speed, which is going to give you more damage with your shots. And of course we also switched to the class mod that's going to give us more points into playing dirty, so we can get double projectiles out of our back burner, which is quite OP because that's literally double the damage. So I hope you guys found this video informative. I hope you guys enjoy the build. There's no save file because we're not on PC, we're actually on PS4. So just try to get the gear, guys, and try the build out. I'll catch you in the next one. It's your boy Scared Soldier signing out. Peace.